History is often told through kings, wars, and dates, but most lives passed without names being remembered. At the Historic Tales, we listen to ordinary people and the small decisions that shaped their days. Welcome to the Historic Tales. I learned to measure life by footsteps, not by days. Chains don't just lock up your body, they mess with your head too. And in this place of stone and iron, I started to forget what freedom even sounded like. I wasn't born some outlaw. I was a son, a worker, just a regular man who once walked under open sky without fear. I remember the wind brushing across my face, the comfort of warm bread in my hands, the simple pride of earning my living straight and honest. Life wasn't easy, not by a long shot, but it was mine. Then, in the year 1800, everything flipped, just like that. I became a prisoner. Didn't play around. A place where stone seemed to hold more pain than mercy. Morning didn't show up with sunlight. It showed up with keys. Metal hitting metal, a lock turning, boots grinding across cold stone. That was my wake-up call, every single day. I slept on rough wooden boards, my back pressed against a wall that never warmed up. That cold wasn't just surface level, it sank in deep, into my bones, into my breath, into my thoughts. The air smelled like damp rock, rust, and men who had pretty much given up on tomorrow. Hunger stuck with me like a shadow, not loud, not dramatic, just constant. A bowl of thin porridge, a chunk of hard bread, enough to keep you on your feet, not enough to make you feel human. I ate slow, not because it tasted good, but because stretching those few bites made time feel real. For a minute or two, I could tell myself, okay, I'm still here. After a while, I stopped asking when I'd get out. What was the point? Nobody answered. Nobody promised anything. Talking about hope out loud felt risky, like tempting fate. Sometimes I pressed my ear against the wall, not to hear full conversations. Most guys had stopped talking much, but just to catch something, a chain dragging, a body shifting, a faint breath, proof that I wasn't the last man alive in that stone box. Fear lived with us, not the loud jump-out kind, more like a slow weight on your chest, the kind that makes it hard to breathe sometimes. The fear of being forgotten, the fear that outside those walls, life was just rolling on. Streets busy, markets open, kids laughing, and nobody even knew we were locked away. At night, things got heavy. Men tossing in uneasy sleep, chains scraping softly, someone coughing in the dark, someone whispering a prayer under their breath, and sometimes someone crying. I never cried out loud. I kept it in, felt safer that way, like hiding a wound under your coat. But inside, memories hit me hard. My mother's hands setting bread on the table, the smell of rain on dry earth, the sound of my name spoken with warmth, not barked out like a number. Sunlight on my face, real sunlight. I held on to those memories tight, replaying them over and over in my head, scared they'd fade, because in there, memory was the one thing they couldn't chain down. Days blurred together, time lost its shape, no seasons, no clocks, no change. Your mind starts drifting if you're not careful. Sometimes I wondered, is the old me still in there somewhere, or am I just this prisoner now? Still, small things kept me going. A bird calling somewhere beyond the walls, a morning that felt just a little less cold, a thin line of light stretching across the floor, tiny signs that the world outside was still doing its thing. One evening, footsteps stopped outside my door longer than usual. Not the regular rhythm, slower. Keys turned soft. The door cracked open just enough for a hand to slide through. A guard dropped an extra piece of bread inside and shut the door. No eye contact, no speech, nothing. I just stared at it, didn't move, didn't say a word. Then I reached out and picked it up. It was warm.
That warmth hit different. It moved from my fingers into my chest, and something inside me woke up a little. A reminder that humanity wasn't completely gone from that place, and maybe it wasn't gone from me either. I didn't eat it right away. I just held it there, breathing slow, letting that small bit of warmth settle in. And right then, I understood something real simple, real clear. Even here, even in darkness, even in chains, as long as memory stays alive, a man isn't completely lost.
Waiting was the hardest punishment. Not hunger, not the cold. Waiting. Time didn't move forward in that place. It just kind of melted away. Days blurred together till they lost their edges, like ink bleeding on wet paper. Morning, night, light, dark, it was all the same long, slow exhale. After a while, I quit trying to keep track. What was the point? Ain't like it changed anything. So I started counting footsteps instead. The guard outside my door had a pattern. 12 steps, pause, 12 steps again. I listened real close every single day. That rhythm became my clock, my calendar, my proof that time hadn't flat out ghosted me. When those boots hit the stone, I knew the world was still out there, still rolling. When they faded, silence dropped heavy, like a thick old curtain. And let me tell you, silence can get loud as hell. In the quiet, your mind starts running its mouth, sometimes soft, sometimes straight up cruel. One winter hit harder than the rest. The cold wasn't just cold, it was brutal. It didn't just nip at your skin, it sank its teeth into your bones. My fingers got stiff, clumsy. My breath came out pale, floating like some weak little ghost before vanishing. Even the walls felt meaner, like the stone had zero mercy left in it. The man in the next cell had been coughing for days, rough, ragged, sounded like his chest was tearing itself apart. Then one morning, nothing. No chain rattling, no shuffling, no prayer in the dark. Just dead stillness. I waited, holding my breath, listening for anything, a shift, a sigh, something. But there wasn't a damn thing. Before noon, the boots came, slow, businesslike. The door opened. 2 guards stepped in, quiet as shadows. They lifted him up like he weighed nothing. His chain scraped once across the floor, then that sound drifted off down the corridor. No name, no goodbye, no nothing. Just like that, he was gone. That's when the fear switched up on me. I wasn't scared of pain anymore. Wasn't scared of getting beat down by the cold. Wasn't even scared of dying. What got me, the idea of just disappearing, wiped out, like I'd never walked this earth, like my whole life had been some kind of mistake the world corrected.
Nah, I couldn't let that happen. So I started talking. Not to the guards, not to the other poor souls locked away, just to myself. At first, my voice sounded shaky, rusty, like it hadn't been used in forever, but I pushed it out anyway, low and steady. I whispered my own name, over and over. I lived, I worked, I was loved, I was somebody. Sometimes my voice cracked, sometimes my eyes burned, but I didn't let the tears fall. Nah, I held it together. Every word I spoke felt like lighting a tiny match in a pitch-black room. Small, sure, but real. Hope didn't come busting through like some big Hollywood rescue. It slid in quiet. A morning that wasn't quite as freezing. A guard who didn't bark orders for once. A bird call drifting down through that skinny slit of sky up high. Little stuff, regular stuff. But in there, that was big. I started waiting for those small wins, not dreaming about freedom. That felt way out of reach. I just wanted proof that life was still out there doing its thing. Then one evening, something different happened. The footsteps stopped at my door longer than usual. Not the usual 12-count rhythm. Slower, almost unsure. Keys turned soft. The door cracked open just enough for a shadow to lean in. Something hit the floor with a soft thud. Then the door shut. No eye contact, no explanation. I didn't move at first. Thought maybe I was losing it. But then I crawled forward. Bread. Fresh bread. Soft, still warm. I picked it up real careful, like it might vanish if I blinked too hard. The heat soaked into my palms, crept up my arms, settled in my chest. And man, that warmth hit different. It felt human. Not some grand gesture, not a speech, not mercy carved in stone. Just a quiet act, low-key, simple, real. I didn't scarf it down right away, didn't rush it. I held it close, breathed it in, let that warmth remind me I wasn't just some inmate, wasn't just a number scratched into a ledger. I was still a man, still here, still standing, even if it was inside 4 cold walls. For a minute there, just a minute, I felt like my old self again. And that's when it clicked. Hope ain't always some big jailbreak moment. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's just a little light flickering in a whole lot of darkness. And sometimes it's a quiet reminder that even in chains, your heart still knows how to keep going. Years passed, or maybe it was just months. Shoot, I couldn't tell anymore. Time had straight up slipped through my fingers like water down a drain. No seasons, no change, no rhythm of real life. After a while, you stopped counting. My hair grew out wild and uneven, hanging however it wanted. My body got skinny, real thin, almost fragile. But my mind picked up something tougher than just survival. It learned how to endure. See, strength ain't loud. It doesn't holler. It doesn't throw punches. Real strength, it's waking up in the same cold darkness every single day and still saying, "All right, I'm still here."
Every morning I crack my eyes open to the same stone walls, the same tight space, the same heavy silence sitting on my chest like a weight. And still, something inside me refused to clock out. Even when hope felt a mile away, even when my memories got fuzzy round the edges, I kept breathing, kept waiting, kept existing. That became my quiet win. Then one morning, everything shifted. The corridor sounded off, not the usual slow, predictable 12-step rhythm I had memorized like some prison metronome. Nah, this was different. Faster, louder, alive. More voices, boots hitting stone with purpose, metal clanging sharp, echoing hard. My heart started pounding like it remembered how. The footsteps stopped at my door. Keys turned, but this time the door didn't just crack open. It swung wider than I'd ever seen, and light poured in. Not that weak little strip I was used to. This was bright, almost blinding. I had to throw my hand up to block it. After years in dimness, even regular daylight felt like a spotlight. Then I heard it. My name. Not a number, not move, not prisoner, my actual name. Man, it hit me like a bell ringing deep inside my chest. My brain kind of stalled for a second. Like, did I really just hear that? My name sounded like my old life, like open sky, like who I used to be. Stand, the voice said, calm, steady. But my legs, they weren't ready. They'd forgotten how to be free, forgotten distance, forgotten what it meant to carry me anywhere beyond those four walls. Two hands grabbed me, not rough, not mean, just firm, solid. They lifted me up. I felt how weak I'd gotten, how my muscles shook like they weren't sure this was real. Step by shaky step, they guided me forward, out of the cell. For years, I'd only known that corridor by sound, chains dragging, doors slamming, boots passing by. Now I saw it with my own eyes. Long, cold, endless stone. A path a whole lot of men had walked, some never coming back. My bare feet touched the floor as I shuffled along, wobbly as a newborn deer. Each step felt unreal, like I was dreaming and scared I'd wake up any second back on those wooden boards. Then we stopped in front of a door I'd never seen open. It creaked slow, and beyond it, space. Open space. Cold air hit my face, real air, not that trapped, stale mess I'd been breathing for years. This air moved. It had life in it. I pulled in a deep breath, and my chest shook because it felt so full, so clean. It carried a smell I almost didn't recognize at first. Life. I looked up. The sky stretched wide overhead, big, endless. Gray clouds drifting stow. To most folks, it probably looked plain, maybe even kind of gloomy. To me, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. No stone over my head, no iron on my wrists, no shadows closing in. I didn't yell, didn't bolt, didn't lose my mind. I just stood there, breathing. They took the chains off one by one. Each shackle fell away with a dull clank. The weight left my wrists, my ankles, my shoulders. But something deeper lifted too. That heaviness in my chest, that silence crowding my thoughts, that darkness wrapped tight around my soul. Freedom didn't crash in like fireworks. It didn't feel wild or loud. It felt still, quiet, overwhelming stillness, like the world finally hit pause long enough for me to feel myself again. I closed my eyes and let the wind brush across my face, listened, not for chains, not for boots, but for the world, distant voices,
wind moving through open space, life just going on. And that's when it clicked for real. Freedom ain't noise, it ain't running, it ain't some big dramatic escape scene. Freedom is that breath you take when nothing is holding you down anymore. And as I stood under that wide gray sky, weak, shaky, but alive, I felt the chains drop not just from my body, but from my soul. And for the first time in a long, long while, I felt like me again. Freedom felt strange, real strange. The world was moving fast, no joke. Folks walked past me like I wasn't even there. Steady steps, busy lives, eyes locked on wherever they needed to be. Nobody knew where I'd been. Nobody saw the years sitting quiet on my face. Life just kept rolling, same as always. No pause button, no looking back. For a minute, I just stood there in the middle of it all, breathing, taking it in, trying to remember how to exist outside those stone walls. The open air felt way too wide. The noise, man, it was a lot. Cars, voices, doors slamming, all of it hitting me at once. Even the sunlight felt kind of foreign, touching my skin like, hey, you remember me? Freedom wasn't fireworks. It wasn't some big movie moment. It was quiet, careful, a low-key, shaky new start. And deep down, I knew I wasn't the same dude who went in. I walked slow through the streets, real cautious, like the ground might dip out from under me if I stepped too hard. My body was free, sure, but my mind still carried those iron doors, that tight darkness, that heavy silence. The world had color, warmth, motion, but part of me was still back there, in the quiet. After a while, I headed home. The road felt longer than I remembered, or maybe I just wasn't the same man walking it. Houses looked different, fields seemed smaller, trees had grown tall, like time had been busy while I was locked away. Everything had changed. When I finally reached the spot where my home once stood, I froze. My heart thumped slow, heavy, like it wasn't sure what was about to go down. The door looked different, paint worn, walls a little rough around the edges. But still, it was home, for real. I knocked soft. For a second, nothing happened. Then the door opened, and there it was, a face older than I remembered, lines deeper, hair touched by time, but familiar, warm, real. Eyes went wide, breath caught. Then recognition hit. My name was spoken out loud, not as a number, not barked like an order, but like I mattered, like I belonged. Inside, life had kept moving, yeah, but it hadn't erased me. The room felt smaller than my memory made it, but warmer than anywhere I'd been in years. A small fire crackled. Bread sat on the table. A chair waited like it had been saving a spot for me. Regular stuff, but to me, it felt unreal, like a blessing. I sat down slow, ran my hand over the wooden table just to make sure it was solid. No chains clinking, no stone walls pressing in, no guards shouting. Just warmth, just life. We didn't talk much at first. Some feelings run too deep for small talk. But in that quiet, I felt something stronger than time itself. Belonging. Days started passing easy. I'd step outside in the mornings, feel the dirt under my boots, listen to birds chirping, watch clouds drift lazy across the sky. Simple stuff turned precious real quick. A warm cup in my hands, wind moving through leaves, hearing someone call my name like it wasn't going to disappear. That kind of thing hits different after years inside. But even with peace around me, memory still stuck around. Some nights, when everything went still and the world went quiet, I'd hear footsteps in my head, slow, echoing, distant. My body remembered cold stone. My ears remembered iron doors slamming. I remembered the man who vanished without a word, the hunger that gnawed at you, the waiting, the quiet battles nobody ever saw. Those memories didn't scare me anymore. They humbled me. They reminded me how fragile this whole thing is. Life, breath, time. And at the same time, they showed me how tough the human spirit can be, how it can bend without breaking, how it can survive stuff that should have crushed it. I had to learn how to live again, not as the man I used to be, not as the inmate I became, but as someone shaped by both the dark and the light. I worked slow, spoke soft, kept things simple. And every day I carried gratitude for the small freedoms, breath in my lungs, sky overhead, warmth in a room, memories still intact. Through all of it, one truth stayed locked in my chest. A prison can hold your body. Darkness can crowd your mind. Time can flip your whole world upside down. But long as a man remembers who he is, long as he holds on to his story, his name, his truth, he ain't ever completely lost. Not really. Not as long as he's still standing.
The life you heard today was not famous. Many lived in similar ways, under similar pressures, making careful choices with limited control. Thank you for listening. If you want more stories like this, like and subscribe.